Good evening. This is the Norfolk Conservation Commission, February 14th, 2024, and a happy Valentine's Day.
I can barely hear the volume.
Can you turn the volume up, Andrew? We welcome you to the conservation meeting. How's that volume? Everybody good? Okay. Sorry for the delay. We had a little technical issue. All right. We're opening the meeting. In accordance with the provisions of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission is meeting tonight, Wednesday, February 14th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Meeting Room 124, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Massachusetts. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in person at 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass., or by remote Zoom connection provided. But please note that the in-person meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the remote connections. And given that, I will accept a motion to open the meeting.
Kenny, so moved.
Also, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, here we go. The first public hearing we have is 68 River Road, NOI DPE number 240-0663. Is the applicant or representative here?
Present online.
Okay. Introduce yourself and your company.
Sure. My name is David Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates. We're out of Clinton, Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you, David.
I can barely hear
Us?
you speaking. I don't know how well I'm coming through.
How am I now?
It's better, but it's still a low volume.
Okay.
I have my volume all the way up.
Andrew? Karen? Okay.
It's pretty low.
Okay, we'll have to bear with us. They're trying to work on it. Apparently, there's been problems with the communication system here. We'll make do. Okay, David, if you would go ahead and present. About the notice of intent. David? He's not hearing me at all.
David, did you want to share your screen?
He's not hearing us.
Can you write in the chat?
Hello?
Hello. I could hear John Powers really well earlier, but it's very hard to hear what's happening at the meeting.
Okay. All right, can you present?
Sure. Again, my name is Dave Sadowski. I'm the principal of DJ and Associates. We had resubmitted plans under, at our last meeting, the agent asked us to go out and identify if there was any possible bank in a bordering land subject to flooding, which was adjacent to our property on the opposite side of where we had been flagging. And we went out and we flagged the cove. And since it was ice, the ice wasn't really thick. We had someone go out that weighed about 90 pounds and go across the cove and get elevations all through it to show that cove was indeed higher in elevation than the riverfront bank of the Charles River.
Go back to the picture.
So with all that in hand, we made some minor changes to the plan just to show all those elevations. We had the plans resubmitted to DEP. We submitted them to the town. I know I submitted them before I left on vacation, before January 31st, and we haven't heard anything back. We got no paperwork back. We got nothing back. Basically, we feel that land is only an area where there's breakout, that we're at groundwater. When we did our soil testing, we found modeling at 8 feet. That's about 8 feet lower than the elevation where the proposed house is supposed to go. And we feel that that's basically groundwater coming out of the ground and draining towards the Charles River. All that being said, we put together a letter. We did some calculations on the horizontal extent inside the reach, and the reach would be the elevation from 136 to 137. If we put 22 posts and 2 sets of stairs, we'd have 16 and a half square feet. And the calculated area of that reach from 136 to 137 is 2,774,640 square feet. It would be 5 millionths of an inch rise if those posts were put in, which seems to be a minuscule or insignificant number. Then we talked about another performance standard, and we put that in the letter. But again, we've heard no rebuttal, no reply back from the town, so I guess that's
Okay.
going to be my presentation. Thank you.
Caitlin?
So as David was saying, they conducted some additional field work,
He's not able to hear you.
getting topo shots in the flooded wetland area to the west of the proposed house. They were able to show that there is a gradient from where the bank/mean annual high water boundary is flagged, showing that there is a break in slope, which is where mean annual high water is flagged. So I am satisfied with that. In regards to the calculations regarding the horizontal extent, that is something that, as we had first discussed, would need to be, in my opinion, looked at by a professional engineer to confirm that those calculations are correct. And then there were some other performance standards addressed, but a couple items that are still outstanding would be the habitat evaluation for borderland subject to flooding, and then if the commission desires riverfront area as well, based on the total square footage of impact to those two resource areas.
Did you hear that, Dave?
I did, just barely, but I did hear it.
Any comments?
Well, I'm just wondering why none of that was put in written form and sent to me, so we could have at least evaluated it. All that being said, if there still are certain things, I'd like the agent, if possible, to get it to us 14 days before the next hearing, which performance standards she feels have not been addressed, so that we can come in person to the next meeting and ask for a closure at the next meeting.
So the comments regarding the wildlife habitat evaluation, I believe, were included in my September letter, but I can revise that based on the updated impact calculations. And then as far as having a third party review the FEMA floodplain boundary, that is something that the commission would have to agree to, and then put out to bid to have a third party look at that.
Well, through the chair,
Yes.
if the agent could please put down what she feels is lacking, we will address what she does. Send us in writing, put a rebuttal letter together, send that off to DEP and also to your board. Get it to you at least 7 days before the hearing. If we can get it 14 days before the next hearing, and then we would like to close when we come.
Okay.
And then you can either issue a positive or negative determination and spell out what you feel is lacking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Caitlin, is that
So
possible?
then, would the applicant be amenable to a third-party review of the floodplain calculations that were submitted on the latest revised plans?
At this point, no.
Okay.
We have received nothing in writing. this stuff was dropped off 3 to 4 weeks ago. I mean, if it can't be completed and you need a third party, that'd be a different thing.
Okay, let us get it in writing to you, and you and Caitlin can have some discussions and see if the third party is agreeable between each of us.
Fair enough.
Board members, questions, comments? Okay. Any comments from the audience on 68 River Road? Okay, seeing none?
David.
Yes, sir.
So Caitlin, are we having an issue because of it seems like we're having a struggle with the applicants giving us the normal information that we would get on this type of an action, from what I've seen. So that you're actually doing more than the agent's portion at this point than we normally do, from what I see.
If I understand your question correctly, I don't necessarily think that's the case. In regards to, calculations that would typically require a professional engineer to review and confirm the accuracy of, that's something that this commission, this board, has typically decided in a meeting and not outside of a meeting. Although, when I put together my comments about standing items, the applicant can, choose to accept a third-party review outside of this meeting if the board is okay with that.
Okay.
So should we make a motion in that regard after we close this hearing?
A motion for that wouldn't be necessary.
Okay, just a consensus.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a consensus for that? That outside of this meeting, that Caitlin and the applicant can discuss about getting a third party involved, if necessary?
Why is everybody looking at me?
I look to my left.
I feel we have to confirm the numbers, and that would be why we need a third party. Now, who's going to pick that third party? Is it us, or is it the applicant? Is that what you're going to discuss with them? Because we need somebody besides the applicant's numbers. We need
Yes.
somebody to confirm that those numbers are right.
Okay. So Caitlin, you're saying
There are-
yes?
Yeah, and there are several firms that the town works with, like the planning board, the ZBA, probably would reach out to those firms.
Okay.
I say that's reasonable.
Same.
Okay. All right, then, I'll accept the motion to continue the public hearing to March 13th at 7:01 PM. All in favor?
We got to get the motion first. Adam Zucker moves that we continue 68 River Road, DEP number 2400663 until March 13th, 2024,
7:01.
7:01.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Jim Wilson, second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, it passes. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much for your time. Sorry about the connection. I'll be in person at the next meeting.
That's
Thank you.
okay. Yep. Okay, 37 Turner Street. Is there an applicant or a representative? Yes. All right. State your name and make sure you sign in, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Timothy Martin, trustee of the Dirty Harry Realty Trust. We can spill water there a little bit. Thank you, Elaine. Timothy Martin, trustee of the Dirty Harry Realty Trust. This is regarding 37 Turner Street. At our last hearing, a couple questions came up relative to the wetlands flags. Unfortunately, John Glazer couldn't make it this evening. I think he's out of town. He got out of town just before the snow, so he's a smart guy. But in any event, I think we had an issue relative to some missing flags out there that I think Caitlin wanted us to have put out there. And she also wanted an opportunity to do, I think, two things, at least two things. One was do a little bit of research on the site from a paper standpoint on the file and what's gone on over the years out there. And secondly, to do a site visit. I wasn't there, but I do think she had the opportunity to come out to the site. So through the chair, I'll turn it over to Caitlin if that's appropriate to see what her thoughts were from her research and her site visit.
Excuse me. Caitlin, did you go out and do a site visit?
Yes, I did. So, just to recap from the last meeting, the western portion of the boundary wasn't shown on the plan. However, the 100-foot buffer zone off of that was on the plan. So I met with John Glassa and Mary Ellen on site, and there was a lot of flags out there. Some of them may have been from this original flagging. It was hard to tell. So John Glassa went out and reestablished all the flags, which I then went out and confirmed. Additionally, a bylaw jurisdictional stream was also flagged, which is to the left of the proposed
Can you blow that up,
house
Elaine? Please.
in blue. It's hard to see at the moment. So that was identified when I was on site with Glossa. It is strictly drainage only, so it is not jurisdictional under the State Wetlands Protection Act. However, it's jurisdictional under the local bylaw. And as you can see, work does take place fairly close to that bylaw stream.
What's the distance?
It's hard to see. It looks to be about 10 feet at its closest.
Is that the erosion barrier or the work?
I believe, the southern extent of where the proposed septic leaching field is about 10 feet from that bylaw stream.
The orange line is the silt sock.
What's that?
The orange line is the silt sock.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Recommendations?
So one recommendation would be to issue a positive 2B determination, which would approve the wetland boundaries on site. And then as far as whether or not to consider a negative or a positive determination for the buffer zone work, I think that a -5 determination could be appropriate, which would allow the commission to add additional conditions related to that bylaw jurisdictional stream. On the other end, considering how close the work is to the stream, a positive determination, which would mean that an NOI would be needed, is also could also be appropriate in this case, and that's fairly consistent with how the commission has voted with other projects in the past.
Okay. Thank you. Board members?
What sort of conditions would you want to add to get to a -5? Or would they be determined along the way? I mean, does the -5 determination specify the special conditions?
It would have,
when we
it would
make
need
it?
to, yes.
Okay. Do you know what those are? Because I didn't. Yeah.
So obviously, well, actually, at one point, the limit of work is essentially at the bank of that stream. It's currently, there's, an existing cart path, equipment path there. So it's unvegetated other than grasses. One condition could be that, there's a vegetated buffer along that bank, things like that. Given that there's not a ton of room, it's hard to really, to provide that much mitigation.
What do you think?
Well, I'm interested in hearing what could be restrictions and probably receptive to most of it, if not all of it. It's a unique situation. I don't know if Caitlin, I don't want to get too far into the catch basin thing, but I don't know if Caitlin did any research on that or not, if the town had an actual easement.
I don't know if there was, because I haven't researched it yet. I don't know if the town has an actual easement with that catch basin runoff that way that seems to be creating this issue. But I am receptive to restrictions,
Okay.
Where are we storing all our on-site materials as we doing all this project? Is there room to store loom and material? I don't see much room there.
Well, it's a 5-acre site, so depending on what you're doing out there.
There's room in the back.
Yeah, behind the house.
Correct, behind the
camp goes,
yeah.
There's a
That's where you're
There's a
mostly out of the buffer zone, is
narrow
right where the
strip
house is.
outside the buffer zone.
Okay. All right. And the orange is the silk sock. Okay.
Well, if they're going to store out on that, you could silt sock that too, I guess.
Okay. Comments? Any further?
How do we move it forward?
Any comments from the audience first? Okay. Seeing none, I'll accept a motion for the positive 2 determination confirming the boundaries. So moved.
Adam Zucker moves, we make a positive 2 determination, wetlands determination on 37 Turner Street.
Is there a second?
Peter Kochen, second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. The second motion, accept a motion to issue a positive or negative determination for the buffer zone work. And this is where the NOI comes in. Do we want to require an NOI for this?
I would think so because their work is so close to that stream. I think we would want to.
And as Caitlin said, it's consistent with other applicants that we've done.
Feel more comfortable with an NOI with whatever requirements we need actually written in an NOI to be fair, what we've done in the past and what we'll most likely do in the future with any of these sites. As a matter of fact, the recent ones, we've demanded an NOI and additions to the map along with pre-construction plans and meetings. So
Yep.
I think an NOI is well within.
Okay. So with that, there would be a positive determination. And then, is that automatic that an NOI is required, Caitlin, or do we have to vote on that too?
Yeah, so it would be
Second motion?
it would be a second motion, and it
Okay.
would be a positive 5.
That's a positive 5 too. Okay. I'll accept a motion in that regard.
Al Finney, so moved.
This is for the buffer
5.
zone work, yes.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Peter Cook in a second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. I'll accept a motion for an NOI from the applicant.
Adam Zucker, I move that we require an NOI for 37 Turner Street.
Thank you. Second?
Valstone, I second.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Audience? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. All right. 18 Main Street, enforcement order. Is there somebody here representing 18 Main Street?
I think he is on.
Okay. Andrew, Karen, we're not hearing.
Yeah, sorry, that was my fault.
Oh, sorry. Identify yourself.
Operator error at my end. So, my name's Attorney John Powers. I represent the property owner, Roberta Khalil. She came to me when she got the enforcement order. I communicated with Ms. Nova, your agent, and I've reached out to hire a engineer, land planning and engineering, and they are going to they couldn't get out there with the weather.
Yeah.
But they're going to do a site visit and do the plan that we need to do to make sure we've done everything that needs to be done. I think the client and her husband thought they were kind of maintaining the area, but weren't, I don't think, on top of what they could and couldn't do, which is, I'm sure, common for people to come before you. So I've explained to them that we need to get an engineer involved and look at what needs to be done, and if there's anything that needs to be done, it needs to be submitted in a restoration plan. From the filing that I received, it looks like work will need to be done. And so the only thing that jumped out at me was I didn't know when talking to the engineer if I could get you a plan by the 26th with the weather.
Okay.
But that's where we stand. It looks to me, by looking at this,
Do you have a, excuse me for a minute,
Sure.
John. Do you
Yeah.
have the plot plan?
We didn't have any plot plans on file for this
Oh, we
property.
don't? Oh, okay.
Just aerials.
Can you put the aerial up? Just so people can see what we're talking about, if possible.
oh, okay.
I'm familiar with what's going on. I just want to make sure everybody else is informed in the audience, is, if possible.
I think that should have everything in it. Yeah, that includes the photos.
Were you able to gain access and get pictures of anything, or no?
So I observed this work from a spot on Vale's
On the other
Park,
side?
kind of,
Off property.
yeah, off property.
Right. Because I was over there, I couldn't see from, I was trying to see what was happening, but I couldn't get close enough to the property to see it without trespassing. So,
No
I
luck.
was-
Oh, there she is. Okay, you just magnify that if,
The flood map is pretty zoomed out. If you want to keep
oh,
scrolling to the aerials, I think it gives a better overview. Oh, and I scanned it in black and white, so that's not
Isn't there a color?
super helpful.
Looks like page 10 has a color.
That's right. I thought there's a nice. You can see the definition and the.
So, as far as what resource areas may have been impacted, so essentially the entire span of Highland Lake is
You're only on page
regulatory
3.
floodway,
You can see that. I guess that's
which is has a separate elevation from the 100-year floodplain. It looks like portions of the bank may have been altered, and looking at the flood maps, regulatory floodway looks like it might have gone up to the bank or maybe even a little bit further past the bank of the lake prior to any alteration. And then there's also floodplain and then the 100-foot buffer zone to bank to land underwater, or actually not land underwater, to bordering land subject to flooding, which is a bylaw resource area, or jurisdictional area, excuse me. So there's a lot going on as far as numerous resource areas and jurisdictional areas. So I did have a couple of recommendations as far as changing the language in the enforcement order to add an onsite with the commission members to view the property. So before details start getting discussed, the board will actually know what's going on, what the site looks like.
Caitlin, do we do that prior to them hiring a land planner, or wait till they have somebody on contract and then we go along with that person and all parties are there?
It doesn't necessarily have to happen in that order.
Okay.
And that, I guess, brings me to my second recommendation, just kind of adding a caveat that based on, what is observed on the site, the scope of a restoration plan, if needed, might be able to be reduced or, like, for example, surveying the existing condition plans with 1-foot contours, that might only have to be necessary in a certain portion of the property versus, the entire span of the boundary on Highland Lake. They have a good amount of frontage on the lake there. So there are, are advantages to doing an on-site, whether or not there's, the engineering firm there or not.
Okay. And you're receptive to that?
Well, yeah, I would say that the idea of our surveyor being there or engineer being there would make sense. So everybody who knows people who know what they're talking about could communicate. It looks to me, I think, as we're looking at it, there's that kind of area at the base where he was eroding. That seems to be where the disturbance is mostly. I think that's what I'm picking up. So I think that's where the person could focus and tell us where they tried to do the kind of control there, what they need to do. I don't see any other areas, but I guess that's what an on-site would tell us, and we could come to an understanding of what they could try to do to make it the way it needs to be.
Okay. Once you notify us that you've hired someone, then we can coordinate with you on Saturday, probably a Saturday morning, to take a walk.
Okay. And then at that point, we could maybe get a better ETA from the engineer as to when he could, and he'd have better instructions from you folks, what we'd like to see in a plan. So I think that makes sense.
Okay. So, everything being said, I'll accept a motion to ratify the enforcement order.
Adam Zucker, so moved.
Second,
Second, Al Finney.
discussion.
Do they think they need more time for like the February 26 restoration plan?
I did ask the engineer that, and he did think that he would. He wasn't able to get out there this week because of the ground. And I assume, the weather's so unpredictable, it could be fine next week, but he did ask me if he could get more time on that, and that might help also with a meeting, so we know what's required.
The wording of that could be changed. The restoration plan must be submitted by February 26th. If, not possible due to X, Y, and Z, please provide a written statement as to why and, a status update
Why
on
don't
the
we
project.
just move the date out into March?
Give an extra 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe that
But
hearing on the 13th.
But like a week before our meeting or 5 days before our meeting? No, I
So
guess it doesn't
week
matter where our
before.
meeting is because nothing's going to be concluded at the meeting.
No. I just need to see the site, because I'm not...
Correct.
So that would be March 6th. Would be.
And I could ask the engineer to give us, if he doesn't have anything completed, hopefully would have a site visit prior to that.
Yeah.
And if he does it with the board, and if he doesn't have anything ready, he could tell us what kind of time he needs.
Okay.
All right, I could coordinate with the agent as to a site date on a Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, and contact Caitlin, and she'll coordinate with the board.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we need to vote on the enforcement order? We already did.
Yeah, we already did. Correct?
With the amendments?
Yeah, so the amendments would be adding the onsite,
I'm sorry.
just a general statement that the requirements for any restoration plans, if needed, can be updated based on observations made at the onsite or due to new information submitted by the property owner, and then changing the date from February 26th to March 6th.
Okay. Everybody clear on that? So I'll take a motion to so moved.
Valstone, I make a motion to revise the enforcement order as discussed.
Okay, so 3/6/24 is the new date, and there will be a on-site visit by the commission and the applicant, date and time to be determined. All in favor? Yes. Oh,
Zucker, seconds.
oh, I thought he already did.
No, I first did.
Oh, did you second that, Adam?
I do. Adam Zucker, seconds.
Any further comments from anyone?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
well, it doesn't actually relate to the vote, but I'm a neighbor of the property.
You okay?
Okay.
Please get a microphone, identify yourself. And
Hello.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Arthur Franzak. My wife and I own 14 Main Street, which is the property that kind of sticks out the peninsula. The Khalil's, Roberta, are kind of the cove that sticks down there. I'm just very interested in this. I don't quite understand all the particulars. My property, because of the level of the lake being so variable, the access road that I normally have to get down there, it's been flooded and washed away several times. I have an outbuilding down there that's been used used for storage. I keep a canoe down there. It was there when I bought the property. It's been standing a long time, but again, it keeps flooding. Stuff keeps getting eroded. The dock that I had there is kind of pretty much gone. It's just a metal shell because, again, the level has risen just over time. So I'm trying to think of how to sort of say this. Like, I understand that the commission has an interest in making sure that homeowners like myself don't all of a sudden decide to do whatever we fancy in sort of a wetlands protected area. And I knew that when I built the house, but I feel like nature feels free to do things to my property all the time. So what you may call alteration to me is like, how do I protect what I have, stabilize it? I don't actually know. So this is just sort of a general comment about, I know that I've had a lot of problems. My neighbor, the Khalils, have had problems. I've watched their dock wash away and go out to, not to sea, but into the lake. So yeah, there's been a lot of variability. A fair amount of sort of, you could call it, damage has been done. I'm just trying to understand what our options are to have some kind of stability. I know the commission, when I've just heard you guys talk, you talk about some kind of baseline of restoring conditions or what they used to be. To me, it's very, very variable. You could take 2 photos from different points in time, and I mean, I haven't touched anything down there, but there's just a lot of differences based upon the flooding. So anyway, that's just general commentary. So I'm very interested in just keeping touch and understanding what happens.
Do you want to respond to this general question?
Sure. If you wanted to give the Conservation Office a call, I can pull any plans that I might have for your property. I don't know if you have an up-to-date topo plan, which might show where the FEMA floodplain boundary is.
Can we provide that? You can provide
I have what was used for when I got the permit to build the place, so.
Oh, okay.
Originally, so I do still have that, and it does mark all the floodplains with little triangles and everything, so, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, if you'd like to call, I'd be happy to chat with you about, what the different resource areas are and what to expect, or I can meet you on your property and go over in person.
Great. Yeah, I just want to understand what my options are to sort of help stabilize things. Again, I'm not interested in having a lot of engineering work or a lot of cost. I'm just trying to prevent damage that's done, seems like, every couple seasons. So just understanding what my options are would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, please call the office and coordinate. You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor? Don't we have the motion on the floor? Or is it over?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes. We've done everything else. He just had some comments. We
Yeah.
can close it, right?
So we're all set to move on to the next item.
Okay. 19 King Philip Trail.
Wait, do we need?
Did we vote?
We need to say aye.
We didn't vote though.
David,
all need to say aye.
That's what I thought.
David,
I thought you
we
did ratify.
We approved it, but we didn't vote.
That's right.
We were getting ready to vote, and then we had a comment from the
Yeah,
audience.
that's what I thought.
Yes. So we just need to vote. Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. 19 King Philip Trail, enforcement order. Caitlin? Thank you.
The I'm sorry, it looks like I also scanned this in black and white. So similar to 18 Main Street, I observed alterations along these Highland Lake properties when I was doing a general assessment of the lake in a couple dates in early January, where we had a 4-inch rain event and snowmelts, and then residual floods through the next week. This property, similar to the other, has quite a few resource areas, although this property also has potential implications to land underwater, riverfront area, and an inland restricted wetland order. So again, I think it would be a good idea for the commission to view the site, to see what the current conditions are, and then potentially, revise or narrow the scope of what a restoration plan would look like if one is needed.
Can everybody see on the map what the difference is? You want to maybe go up and point out what the difference is? Might be easier than Elaine trying to, unless,
Well, that's October of 2023. It's up there now.
Not sure if this is on or not.
yes.
So yeah, this is from October of 2023, and it's hard to tell in the black and white, but there is boulders around the entire perimeter of what was a natural peninsula-like area. Essentially, the regulatory floodway extends from about here all the way to the other side of the stream, and then the FEMA 100-year floodplain extends even further into the site from there.
So were those boulders added, or are those natural?
In my professional opinion, they are not natural.
Go to the prior picture. I think that's before 23. Oh, okay. When is that from?
Oh, that was just a close-up
23.
of, the area.
I thought we had one.
Right there, there's no boulders. I don't see boulders there now.
So this is from March of the same, of 2023.
Okay.
And as you can see, there's the perimeter boulder wall is not there. And in the colored photo, you can see that these are slightly saturated soils, which is expected for an area that's in regulatory floodway, which essentially is considered, part of the stream itself, which is why land underwater, there's implications there.
So when it floods, before they would flood that peninsula right over, but now it can't because there's been a dike or obstruction put.
Yeah, so the regulatory floodway is elevation approximately 136 here, and then the 100-year floodplain is 147, so it's quite a bit lower than what you'd see in a 100-year flood. So you would expect it to flood on an annual basis.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Is there someone from the property? Caitlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Jim DeVellis. I'm a professional civil engineer, and my firm is DeVellis Serene. So I'm here representing the Benton family, Linda and Everett Benton, who contacted me after they got the letter that was prepared by the commission on January 25th with a cease and desist language not to do any more work. So I met with them. I did spend a considerable amount of time going back and looking at past aerials. Their daughter is in the science field, and she presented more information than you'd ever want to know, going back to the Native American times on it. I went out and I did a field site visit over the weekend to look at it. And I think we may be in a little bit of a crossroads. This morning, the family and Mr. McCarthy and Caitlin, sorry, met for an hour or so to talk about it. The Benton family, they're elderly. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's got Parkinson's.
adamantly denied putting boulders up at any time in the whenever. So I went out there and I did see the boulders. Unlike the past project and the gentleman that was just speaking, I think the opposite is what's happening here is the area, and it goes way back to the discussion about the town dam and maintenance and all this. The area is flooding a lot more frequently than it has in the past. So in this discussions and in the report, they're saying, you know, adding fill and gravel in the road, in the boulders. I think it's the opposite. I think a lot of that stuff that was there is no longer there. It's washed off. They spent a tremendous amount of time with putting blueberries and sages and all native. It's all gone at the last flooding. So the documents that I've seen, the water going well up into the playground area, which has not happened before. So we met this morning to talk about it. Unlike the past project, they did not hire an attorney. They don't have the means right now to hire an attorney. Sure. The stuff that's in this cease and desist requirements, existing conditions survey, I'm not sure what that serves other than it gives you a survey, but it doesn't give you what was done in the past. The remediation plans remediate something that they're saying they didn't do. It just goes on. The cost of doing this, on my time separate, we're talking $15,000, $20,000 for survey, botanist, plans, meetings. So it's at the point now where we're respectfully asking, please don't issue or ratify the cease and desist. As a courtesy, we'll let you out, or the commission out, for a site walk. But if this is issued with all these requirements, the next step is they have to get an attorney, they have to spend more money, and at the end of the day, I think we're going to find out that these photographs, although it doesn't show the wall there, was there. It's been there for a very, very long time.
Do you know when they bought the property?
Early 1970s.
Okay.
So you know, self-described, and I sat with them for a long time. They are stewards of the pond and the project. They've spent countless hours with the water chestnuts, removing them, drying them, removing the stuff from the dam. We can talk for hours about it with the prison stuff, but basically when the stuff hits the dam, it has no place to go, it backs up, and it's just not being maintained right now. Yeah. So the level of flooding and the velocity and the erosion, they haven't seen it since the 70s. So they're trying to work with the town. They've reached out proactively with the town in the past and not getting a lot of response. And again, I'm coming into the late game, so I'm sure there's two sides to every story. But I guess what I'm asking is, can we step back a little bit on the enforcement order, go out to the site to look at it, and if I'm wrong and they're wrong, then you have the ability to do it. But if you do that now, the enforcement order says they've got to come up with plans by February 26th. Yeah. It's an impossibility, and the cost for an attorney. So can we just put that off, meet, and then we can revisit it at the next meeting?
Okay.
So I actually discussed this with Jim earlier today. When an enforcement order is issued with only one member having signed, that enforcement order would have to be ratified at the next scheduled meeting of the commission. So there is not an opportunity to put it off to the next meeting. Essentially, it would just be...
Can we remove the enforcement order?
I highly would not recommend doing that.
We can vote for an extension tonight, though, on it, can't we, to give them more time, like he asks, and...
Yeah, I mean, I think if what they're saying is in fact the case, similar, conduct the on-site. If there hasn't been filling, or if it's, a much smaller scale than what it appears, the scope of the restoration plan can be limited, or, the enforcement order could be rescinded entirely.
Okay.
So through the chair, just a quick question.
Yes.
So is the enforcement order already ratified, or were you planning on voting on that tonight?
Tonight.
So how would it be in effect if it's not voted on? That's what I just don't understand.
Kayla?
So under the regulations in 310 CMR 10.08, an enforcement order can be issued with one member's signature or a representative of the commission's signature, as long as that enforcement order gets ratified at the next meeting.
Oh, no, I understand that, but has that already happened? It has. So one member signed it, and then this meeting, it would have to be ratified. So I guess what I'm asking is, maybe we're talking about the same thing. Can you just not ratify it, and we'll continue on and have that? What I'm concerned about is if it's ratified, I step away.
Everything
the
gets-
attorneys come on,
yeah.
and good luck with that in the next couple months.
Yeah.
Is it possible to amend the enforcement order to just include cease and desist? And temporarily drop the rest of them and, to the next meeting or a later date?
So ratify it with the cease and desist, the on-site, and then the potential to add additional conditions following
But
further site assessment.
do we have to, even though I signed it and it's official, we don't have to really take a vote to ratify it tonight, though?
You do.
in law?
Under the regulations, yeah.
Okay,
But we can amend it.
Yes.
okay.
I feel, Dave, if we could amend it, myself, I'd like to see the site. You look at rocks and boulders, you can tell if they were placed there or if they're natural. I mean, I'm sorry, been around a long time, so
Okay,
I'd
I
like to
agree.
see the site, and I also know the site somewhat in the past with things that have happened, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Just for clarity, I don't want you
Reasonable.
guys to come away saying they're there naturally. They were placed. There's a ring of it. But what I'm saying is it wasn't any time in the recent past. It was a very, very long time ago.
prior to their buying.
Yeah, so there's no cease and desist of stop activity because there's no activity going on.
Right, okay.
Yep.
No. I was going to clarify him on that, but that part.
Well, it's just a cease and desist. We're not saying they did this last month.
No,
I
but there is no
understand.
cease and desist required.
Right. Right, because there's nothing they're doing.
Right. All right. So let's vote to ratify it. Let's move out the date, similar to what we did to the other one, to 3/6/24?
Still not clear, because if they're not doing anything in the area, then should there be an enforcement at all?
Well, I think we have
Well, I
to,
want to walk out there and see.
By Caitlin's observations and the aerial maps, it shows there was an alteration with the boulders.
Uh-huh.
And so that's why the enforcement order was put in place.
Okay.
And so now we have to go do the research and, take the site visit
Well,
and figure it all.
Correct me if I'm not wrong here, but didn't we have a site, a showing up there of like 2022? That the boulders weren't there, in 23 they were, or 24?
The pictures?
Yeah, the pictures, so it didn't happen 25 years ago. This happened within the past 5 years, or I'm not sure what those dates were.
It was March 2023, and then the boulders were there in October 2023.
So
So that's 22, March 22.
there's no boulders there, and now 2 years later, there's boulders there.
Well, then there is activity.
So that tells me,
But I think what he's saying is the boulders were there all along, and there was infill within the boulders, and they've since washed with flooding.
that's
he's
what I
saying.
want to see.
Yeah.
That's why I need a visual on the property and me look at it. I mean, myself look at it.
Yeah. And if the water level has come down, but with all the rain we've had, but yeah, let's take the site visit. Should we, so we have to finish the vote on the enforcement order, correct?
Yes, and so
And then pick a date to, and then have a vote to have an on-site visit and pick a date for that.
changes to the existing wording to add an on-site, extend or change February 26, 2024 to March 6. And then the wording requiring the existing conditions plan that showed the regulatory floodway limits, change that wording to state that, that is going to be reviewed and revised following the onsite.
Okay. Everybody clear on?
So what are we asking them to do by the 6th?
Nothing.
That we have a site visit.
Yes.
To be determined after the site visit on what,
But there is an enforcement order, basically, don't. And then, yeah, we'll go out and look at it and then decide from there.
So between now and the 6th, there's 1, 2, 3 weekends. So that should be doable.
Okay, we can decide that after the meeting, correct? Or should we do it now?
If everyone knows their schedule for the next 3 weeks.
I'm clear.
Or, we could, figure out what a time that works for them and coordinate.
Yeah,
what
we'll
time-
coordinate with them.
yes.
What works best for everyone.
Yeah.
Now that there's an enforcement, it's gonna go to the lawyers, and then they gotta they gotta direct us. That's what my concern is.
Does it have to go to a lawyer at this point?
Not by,
That's up to the owner.
It's up to the owner, yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
requirement by the town.
Yeah.
But when you.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
I mean,
What was a little gun, all the requirements, that they don't have the resources for that, and they were going to fight it, and they will fight it. So that's why the attorney came in. Talking to Mr. McCarthy, said, you guys are a good commission and you work things out, so I'm going to bring that back to the owner, and we'll see what he says. But that's kind of where I am. And again, I'm not the attorney, I'm just the engineer.
yeah, I mean, we can't officially recommend anything, but let's have the site visit and then decide what you need to do and what we need to do.
Okay, so maybe it makes more sense if I ask the owners and then get back to you tomorrow with an email that says yes or no, and then you guys could work out your schedule. And
Yes.
they're around, so the time, I'm sure, will work out.
Okay.
And everybody seems comfortable with the presumption that they're not doing activities on the property now, right? So that March 6th is going to be before the next meeting. I mean,
But we have how many weekends before that? 3? So we
Yeah,
got
but to make a decision and then put an enforcement or not, you
right,
need until the next meeting to do that.
right, and
So move it out to the April meeting?
So given all that, is it appropriate to ask for a statement from the homeowners suggesting that they're not doing anything? In the meantime, since we
I don't
are-
think they're doing anything because I know them, kind of. I've been involved with them in other issues, and I don't think they are physically able to do anything. They're elderly.
Yeah.
So letting the board know, I don't think they're doing anything physically, changing anything out there.
Between now and then?
Between now and then, no.
yes, so there's no, time is not of the essence in this one.
So we can keep the 3/6 and just go out and take the site visit and then,
And not ratify the enforcement order.
did I sign that one too?
I'm asking if that was what the
think-
consensus is.
I think we're talking about amending the one with all those exemptions we were talking about, but then the restoration plan, they're not responsible if they haven't committed anything, and without a site visit, we can't determine whether they did anything.
Right.
So there's no harm in pushing that back, that
That's
date.
where I'm at. Just push everything back.
Particularly past the next meeting, our next meeting.
So I had thought, instead of a due date for the restoration plan, have that, essentially a due date for an on-site. And then instead of, requiring the plan, kind of have a caveat saying that following the on-site, the commission may require, such and such plans, documents, information.
But we can push this date out to our next meeting is the 13th of March.
Right, so I think it makes sense if the on-site's before the 6th, that'd be enough time for obviously the commission would have a week following the on-site if it were to happen on that, actually more.
And we can physically look at the everything, and if we decide there's no restoration needed, we can drop the enforcement order.
And rescind it at that
Rescind it.
meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to put an order on somebody. I mean, I'm not saying you didn't see, but there is something that happened there, but were they really responsible for it? Or is it a nature thing, or what? And if by seeing it physically, me looking at it, I know, I can look at it and determine if that was equipment was brought in and put that stuff there, or if it just naturally happened over time.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to it. Keep the 6th.
Keeping the 6th as a deadline for the site visit.
Site visit.
Yes. Okay.
And we're eliminating that clause 3C and replacing it with, if it is determined that alterations were made, then
From the
a
site
restoration
visit.
plan will be required.
Yes.
Well, I guess actually requirement 4, it kind of already states that the commission reserves the right to amend this enforcement order in the future. So.
Okay. So back to the vote. We need to accept the motion to ratify the enforcement order, correct? We haven't done that. So I'll accept a motion for that part of it.
Adam Zucker moves to accept the enforcement order for 19 King Philip Trail.
Second.
With the specified amendments.
Comments.
And comments for the required mitigation, including on-site visit, a suspension of the restoration plan. Am I missing anything crucial?
I don't think so. Is there a second to that?
Alan Finney, I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion from the board? Anyone in the audience or on Zoom? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. And now we have to pick a date.
Well, he's going to talk to the...
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Are you good with that, sir?
I am. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll try to work with the applicant as much as we can and make things work.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Okay, next we go to Callahan Pond. Request to amend DEP 240-0582. Caitlin, first up.
The Pondview Estates Homeowners Association reached out expressing a desire to start chemical treatment of Callahan Pond. Currently, they have an order of conditions to conduct mechanical removal as well as winter drawdown. That original order of conditions was issued quite a while ago and has been extended, I believe, twice.
When was it first issued?
It was issued in 2016.
Okay.
Does it include chemical treatments as needed?
No.
Or just physical removal?
just the mechanical removal and then the winter drawdown.
So would
Excuse
it
me if I
be-
may interrupt.
wait a minute.
There's,
Would it be,
we do not mechanically remove, and that is not part of the permit, just drawdown.
Drawdown.
would it be prudent to add chemical treatment as needed?
Well,
If they're doing this now?
So,
Or do they have to come up with a whole new order?
well, that's the big question. Do they need a new NOI or not? So,
If I
it's the NOI,
give a little background,
wait, let me just finish
Right.
my sentence. So if the conditions now are drawdown, and then we're saying, well, along with the drawdown, yeah, go ahead, throw chemicals in there. So that's the issue. Or do we say, no, you need a new NOI to tell us you're going to put chemicals in there? And yeah, you can draw down too, but you have to, now you can. And did you identify yourself and everything?
no, I'm Mary Ann Magner. I'm a member of the Pondview Homeowners Association, and also with me tonight is Yao Lee, who's president of the association, and Laura Hayes, who's the secretary. We have been before the commission many times.
Yes.
We have been issued at least 3 orders to chemically treat the pond, and we have done that successfully. And in fact, the commission issued us an order in 2015. We were not able to go forward with that because at the time there was an abutter who
Yeah, the
threatened to
well
sue
or
us.
whatever, yeah.
So as a fallback, we tried drawdown. Drawdown has not been successful. There is an outlet that was constructed some years back when the Conservation Commission allowed a subdivision to have stormwater overflow go into Callahan Pond. And as a part of condition of that, a outlet structure was constructed. This is an earthen dam. It's man-made pond. But the, excuse me, but the invert was not designed to draw the pond down. So if we are able to win the battle with the beavers on a nightly basis, we can barely get much sediment pond bottom exposed. And the past few winters have been so mild that sediment hasn't frozen. So the theory is you freeze and thaw, upset the tumors. We have pond lilies. So that's not being successful. And the pond is almost completely covered with lily pads. So we would like to amend our existing order to allow for chemical treatment, which has been done several times in the past. And it would be by a licensed company. We would come back with a formal request to amend the order, which would have detailed information about who is applying, what they're applying, when, how, all of that. And we're here tonight to ask the commission to allow us to amend the existing order rather than file a new notice of intent, which for an association of 20 households is very expensive.
Well, I think what we've been doing lately is there's been a lot of changes and more of a prevention of the water quality. So we've allowed people to include, the chemical treatment, the testing. And so what happens is if you only we allow you to do a chemical treatment, which you've done once, the problem is if July comes and you have a certain species that erupts, you then have to come to us as opposed to already having a standing order that you're allowed to do either, the check the pH, the things you can add in the water. There's only a few companies that do it, and they're all mandated by the state of what they put in there. So that's never a concern to us. The more concerning is for you to be able to have a document that either allows you to remove the chestnut or lilies or allows you to chemically treat them so that you don't end up with a large foliage outbreak that changes the pH and causes a bunch of plant matter on the bottom of the pond, which raises the level of the pond. It changes
Which it
the whole
probably is doing
ecosystem.
now.
So
If it's
that's why I
covered.
always pretty much recommend starting with the new orders of condition and to try to outlay everything that you're going to do, as opposed to just coming back each time.
I'm not quite sure I follow that, but we would come back, amend this order, and
Yeah.
that would have the plan for this summer, and if we have long-term management goals.
If I can interpret, I think what Jim is saying is, no, let's issue a new NOI for the pond.
Yeah, with,
So that it's
more
of
encompassing.
24 going forward, basically the same plan, but from 2016 to now, I mean, that's 8 years. And it's kind of reaching, I think, for an NOI in this regard, and especially since we're changing the scope of it. Now, what we might be able to do is the fees, we can reduce them or cancel them, can't we? The city fees.
I don't believe so. Under the current bylaw, I could double check on that, but as far as I'm aware, I don't believe there is one.
We can't, okay. Let's see if we can work with you on the fees. Let me put it at that.
I mean, I do know several smaller grant opportunities that I'd be happy to.
This is a privately owned pond.
Okay. No, that's okay, but we can she can work with you on, so you can get, the homeowners association can apply for a grant and receive one from the state for this work. And the notice
Not
of
necessarily the work,
notice of
but,
intent.
the permitting aspect, the
I
assessment.
appreciate that, but I'd like to just ask another question about the permitting. We're here for the long term.
Right.
And this is not a one and done deal. And as part of any kind of formal permitting and request we came with before the commission, we would lay out a structure that would allow long-term maintenance.
Multiple years.
Because it takes many years to collect the money to pay for the treatment. And when I first moved in the late 80s, much of the pond was clear, and it has just kind of accelerated. So that clearly it needs to be either every other year or small amounts. I fully understand and appreciate you can't just go in and wipe out the entire cover in one season, because then you will pull out the oxygen. So my question is, the amended order is going to be recorded, is going to be under your control. We will be coming back to you every year, every other year, if there's treatment.
You won't have to. See, because what our orders do concurrently now is allows for either mechanical or chemical treatment as needed throughout the year. So you don't ever have to come back.
And multiple years.
But we will be coming back to extend that order.
Yeah.
We will be coming back to notify you and communicate with you.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure the commission will gain a whole lot from a notice of intent versus an amended order, because hopefully, we're going to be stewards of this pond
Right.
for many years to come. So 3 years from now, we'll be asking for an extension. 3 years from that, we will be, in good faith, in good communication. So I just want to ask the commission to consider the paperwork
Okay.
versus the control and the project and what you're accomplishing. We're not asking for an amendment to to act in secret, to be
Yeah.
out from under your thumb. We tried drawdown in good faith for a long time, knowing that it really was going to be difficult. So it would be much appreciated if the commission could allow us to amend this permit. You will get the same amount of information, the same amount of control, the same amount of communication and commitment from us, but we would be able to put more money towards the treatment than towards the process.
Yeah, and I think once you hire a professional company to treat it, they'll assess the lake and say, okay, here's what the treatment is. They'll come up with the plan for, it'll probably be multi-year and every year from now to whenever. And we're being proactive in the town, and all town property, bodies of water are being treated. And there's a few privately owned properties that we couldn't touch, but we're glad to see that you're being proactive in that. And I think we can work with you.
When does the current order expire?
It was...
Yesterday.
No, we were here last year for an extension, because we understand the extension, getting it amended does not extend it.
Yeah.
We understand that. So whatever you give us, and we would ask for an amendment, we will be extending it over
Yeah.
and over and over.
Yeah. Well, but do you know when it currently?
I'm just looking to see if I made that note. Well, let's see, it was last year that we asked, so it was 3 years
Okay.
from 26, I guess.
I mean, I feel that they're targeting the same species over and over again, so it's not changing what they're targeting.
Yeah, see, the problem ends up happening is that if it's too specific, they have an outbreak of something else, and then they have to come to us. And then over those course of the 2 or 3 months, instead of the company just being able to say, we use this chemical, this one, and this one, and treat it. And then we give them kind of carte blanche to do whatever chemical treatment they need to, because they're mandated by the state. And there's only a handful of them that do it in the state, and they're all managed by the state. So it allows the contractor, because this is what we did starting 3 years ago, we were doing this massive amount of mechanical pulls and then spending tens of thousands of dollars on lakes. And now it's much cheaper that we finally got the town to manage all of these waterways, and it's much simpler, much cheaper, because as an outbreak occurs, they're able to change the way to do it. So that's why...
I've been on this pond, living there since 1987. It is 100% pond lilies. We do not have boats that come in from any place else, and we are very aware of how things can be introduced. So the only boats on this are canoes and rowboats, no motors, and no boats coming in from another lake, which is exactly how you have outbreaks. So
Or
I feel,
birds.
yeah, but I feel pretty confident that we're not going to have that issue. I can appreciate that, but it's treating pond lilies.
Geese are amazing on what they transfer from pond to pond.
That's
Yeah.
where the water chestnuts outbreaks come from.
It's not just boats. Clams usually are boats, but animals that fly.
I understand that.
So that's what we're looking at.
Is time crucial here? Have you got an anticipated time where you want to treat the pond? Is it crucial to do it in the spring?
No. Late summer, you have to wait until they're all growing
Yes.
and ready to take up the herbicide. So it's late summer.
Okay.
That's why we're here tonight.
Yeah.
So that we can do the permitting, get all of the contracts, know exactly what we would like to do, and then we would come before you. I'm not leaving tonight thinking, we're all done. This is step one in the process.
Can you move that up and just show us what the order of condition was, Elaine?
I believe that's just the extension form.
Oh, okay. Okay, okay.
I was showing the date.
But it was for mechanical, correct?
For drawdown.
For drawdown.
I'm sorry.
So you haven't treated this pond at all? You weren't, or have you? Have you done
Yes, we have
treatments? You
several
done-
times.
Okay.
And we had a permit issued by the Conservation Commission.
The reason I'm asking is I'm familiar with the pond, and if we've been treating it and stuff, why is it so bad now? If we were treating it for, even though you've done the drawdown, we've had understandably light winters, but is the treatment working, or is it not working?
Are you doing it annually?
No, because of price constraints. We were ready to treat it when that first permit was issued.
2016?
No, it would have been 2015.
Okay.
And we could not, the company would not treat it because we were threatened with a lawsuit. Prior to that, I'll give you the history. Prior to that, we got an order issued, and a member who is no longer with us had concerns that we could not address. And we were so limited in what areas, skinny little fingers, which were not effective. Prior to that, we had a permit and we treated it, and it was very effective. But it takes some money some time to accumulate. In fact, we had even looked into having one of our members get trained as an applicator, get the insurance. You know, we looked, and that was as expensive as hiring someone. But what we're hoping to do is, first of all, get this pond more accessible to boating. When I first moved there, we had paddle boats, canoes, people used the pond, people went ice skating, and now it is so covered that it's hard to get some interest. But if we can get the pond treated again, and it has been some years because of circumstances outside of our control, we think we can have a slow but steady maintenance that will be easy on the pond, so to speak, so we're not having big die-offs, and easy on the budgeting. And we're hoping to have a long-range permitting process so that we can come back, keep you updated, extend the permit, and nobody is saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, it's not like we're promising to build a house and we keep saying, well, we haven't done it, we haven't done it. We want to come back saying we are doing this, and the pond has this amount of open water. It's a very healthy pond, but it's getting choked off. And it holds a lot of water. Someone once calculated, and I can't remember the number now, but it holds a lot of water.
Yeah.
And if the pond continues to get shallower and shallower, that water is going to go downstream. And we are now also getting water outside of our watershed. So I think it's in everyone's interest to maintain this. And if we can streamline and make the permitting cost effective, then that money can go towards treatment. And we're not asking 20 households to give us more and more money. So that's why I'm asking for the amendment as opposed to a brand-new notice of intent. You will get the same information and the same commitment.
We'll work with you, as we can along the way.
I don't think the
So
state is
it's
going to
more-
give up their fees.
What?
I don't think DEP is going to give up their final
Oh,
fees.
no, they don't. What's the consensus from the board about issuing a new NOI, or just let them continue at the moment until they decide what they're going to do for the next step?
Can we amend the current conditions, or does that not make sense?
I think we need to just put you on notice. I want the pond clean, believe me. We want them all cleaned in the town. But an NOI, I think, is the best way to go, but maybe we can amend it now with you understanding that in the next 3 years, we're going to request an NOI. and we're gonna need to update that so it's, and that way you have time to talk with your association and your people and say, listen, we gotta come up with some money. But I feel that maybe we should amend it now so that they can continue on and at least get it treated and do what they want to do. That's my opinion.
So there hasn't been an official request to amend the order
It's not expired.
at this point.
Not until October 12th.
This is just a,
If I understand the process, it's very nuanced, but it seems like if I understand it and we all understand it, we needed to come tonight to have this exact discussion.
Yes.
Can it be amended? And the reason we feel as though it meets the criteria for amended is the project purpose has not changed. This is coming out of DEP's policy, whatever the number is. The purpose has not changed. The scope has not changed. The potential for adverse impact really hasn't changed. And it meets the criteria, performance standards for protecting water quality, wildlife habitat. We have a track record of if we had never treated this pond, then I would not be pushing back so hard. And I apologize for the pushback, but I have to represent the pocketbooks here. And so if we had not treated the pond before, then I could completely understand why you would say, well, wait a minute. But we have, there's a track record, and there has never been any adverse impacts, never any fish kills. The pond is healthy, but it's filling up, it's getting shallower and shallower. We have otter, we have bald eagles, we have all kinds of fish, turtles, herons. It's healthy, and we just want to keep it that way. And we want to put as much money as we can collect into the treatment, and also provide the commission with the control and input that you need. And we feel that amending this order would satisfy that need. I'm confident that we're not going to come back and completely flip the tables on you. So that we would come back with all of the details about who and what and when and how, and notification of abutters, all of that. We would come back with the formal request to amend. All tonight is asking you to allow us to come back and ask for an amendment.
I don't really see the danger or the harms, since there probably wouldn't be applying chemicals until like August.
Yeah.
And this is going to expire a year later. And they're not going to be allowed to do it themselves. They're going to be using a company. Like you said, there's only a couple of them.
More familiar with that.
I'm not really sure whether it is a danger to amend it for essentially a year.
Right. If you're not happy when we come back asking for an extension, you'll have another shot at us.
That's where I'm at, but we still want to let them know she's here tonight to find out what we feel. And like Jim said, there should be a new NOI issued. So yeah, we'll amend it for another year or so, but please be understandable that you got to get a collection up to pay. I don't know what the fees are, but whatever those fees are, we are going to ask an NOI be done.
It'll be required.
Required within the next 3 years.
Understood.
That's all I'm saying.
Understood.
I mean, we don't want to sit here and tell you
The
you can't treat
drawdown
your
fee
pond.
was $1,000.
Yeah.
Drawdown. And chemical treatment is, I think, maybe $750 when all is said and done.
Yep.
$750?
I believe so.
There's no doubt you want to treat it with chemical.
That's in addition to the...
Yeah.
No doubt, chemical works, drawdown, like you said, it's weather, pertaining to weather.
Right,
The
and
weather doesn't work for you,
elevation.
yes, you're stuck, it's not going to work.
And there's some springs that feed this pond.
Yep. And the beavers don't help either, but,
The one fun thing about that, though, was I found a bottle from late 1800s that the beavers had. They would stuff this outlet with everything. Shoes, sneakers, pots, pans, and a bottle that was some sort of elixir. I looked it up. It was in perfect shape, not broken at all. I wanted them to be pulling out
More.
tubers,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Gold
was-
bullion.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions from the board? Any comments, questions from the audience or on Zoom?
And you said you knew some like grant resources, so, or, look into that in the interim. Because if grants are available to private HOAs.
I don't know what an A2A is, but...
And when our contractor was doing the town,
Oh, I see.
he also stated that in good faith, any of these other ponds, he would do it the same rate that he's doing ours. So I think they'd be more than willing to do that also.
Yeah, give you a
They're doing all
quote,
ours.
but it's at our kind of rate.
Right. Which company is this?
Water and wetlands. Although,
Solid.
Right.
in kind of going with the
We have been in,
new
we're starting
NOI theme, they
conversations with
typically
them.
start with an assessment of what's currently out there.
Yeah,
I believe an assessment was done in 2016, and there were some follow-up monthly reports that were required under the order. But in looking through the records, those became more inconsistent over time.
I'm sorry,
and
are you
then-
talking about our reports?
Yes.
We always notified when we did a drawdown. We've not done a drawdown the past couple of years. And I believe in one of those reports, I might have said that we were going to suspend it. It just became very difficult to keep the outlet open. And I had some personal things that got in the way, and it wasn't effective. So we always notified the commission and wrote update reports on the progress whenever we did the drawdowns. They should be all in the file. But we haven't done it for a couple of years. The first year I wanted to see, let's see what happens. And I'd hoped it might get some water. We didn't really have much, not enough water to really freeze anything, but not low enough to do any good. So we haven't.
The temperatures aren't working with us.
No. So we haven't done any drawdowns. We've been trying to collect funds.
Well,
I'm
we
not-
appreciate you being proactive, as I stated, in controlling the vegetation on the pond.
We do feel responsible for
Sure.
it, and
You want to use it.
we want to use it. And it's not just for our use. It serves a lot of purpose.
Okay.
We appreciate the lively conversation tonight.
Okay.
I'm not clear on all of the filing fee. If you vote to allow us to request an amendment, the bylaw has a $100 fee. I couldn't find what P's fee is, but perhaps you could email me that or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll follow this meeting up in a letter to you from Caitlin and what is required and what the fees are, if required.
All right.
Thank you.
So is a vote required, or everybody
No.
decide?
Because
No, we just had a good discussion.
All right.
And, yeah, it's still intact until the 2025, so,
We hope to come back with all of our information, perhaps for your April meeting.
April, May, because you can't do anything until
No,
August.
but
so.
we want the
Yeah.
company to be able to do it.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah, I
thank you
can
very
send you
much.
the info for water and wetlands, and a couple examples of the latest chemical treatment projects that the commission's approved that actually were performed by Water and Wetlands, just so you have an idea of what we'd be looking for.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you again. Okay, 60 River Road, request for extension, DP 240-0596. Caitlin?
I don't believe anyone's here for this. So 60 River Road was the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family home on River Road. It's currently under construction. They reached out to me a couple months ago, concerned that their projected end date was, pretty close to when their permit would expire. And after weighing the pros and cons, they've decided to request a 1-year extension. They do believe they will be done with work in September, but they just want to err on the side of caution with that.
Okay.
I don't see any issues on why the commission wouldn't grant a 1-year extension for that.
Is that little red house that we had a few years ago?
It's the bunch of sheds that are all connected, isn't it? That's what it's a bunch of sheds all connected. They didn't tear it down yet, right? It's still standing, or did they tear it down?
It's actually, I don't know if it's down.
Maybe?
They had been doing
Cleared the
a lot
land.
of the site work.
Yeah, the site work's been done, but I think the structure's still standing, barely.
They want to just
Yes.
knock it down.
I think they're obviously very limited with how much, actually, for some reason, they chose to permanent with no net increase in fill instead of doing compensatory flood storage. So, yeah, I think they are trying to get everything situated on site before they start the demo process on that.
Nice piece of property, I know that.
So, accept a motion to issue a 1-year extension for the DEP 240-0596.
Al Finney, so moved.
Second?
Jim Olson, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 144 Seekonk Street. Erosion control. Caitlin?
Yeah, so I was contacted by an abutter of the Lakeland Hills project that they had been receiving stormwater runoff onto their property off Stop River Road. I went out there with Rich McCarthy, the town planner, to review what was going on, and we did observe drainage patterns as well as sedimentation on the slope down into a certified vernal pool on that property. And I had pictures of that documented in a memo, and it looks like Owen provided pictures of, that's the vernal pool there.
That says a lot.
And so I sent a memo to Owen Kelly describing what I observed on the site, and he has since responded. I don't know if you'd like to describe what you...
Sure.
First, identify yourself.
Yes, this is Owen Kelly with Lakeland Hills LLC.
Okay.
And Elaine, if we can keep going a couple more. I've got a couple site map pictures drawn up. Actually, if you go to the first couple, I think I've got a little map showing, explaining what had happened.
You want map, Owen? Or
If you go, I think the number 1 or number 2. Sorry, thank you very much. Glad this worked. So number 2, yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is a little map just showing what had happened. And I've got some pictures that kind of clarify, but at the bottom of this picture here with the small red circle is the spot where we had a temporary pile of, we had a gas company coming in to put a gas trench in. We had a temporary stockpile of silt that was put, sand that was put there to backfill the trench. They got delayed, and then we had a storm. And the storm washed some material down the hill. Following that red line to the spot, you can kind of see I circled in the top of the vernal pool there. If you, we got notification from the town. We went out, we reset the erosion controls, and then we actually made a couple additional improvements of anticipation of the final build-out of the site. So if you go to the next picture, keep going, I'm sorry. One more. Okay. So I'll show on a later picture what was intended, but basically you can see we erected a large berm around that low point of the site, basically to contain all of the flow from the site into the drainage systems which have been erected into the site. Then, if you go back one picture to number 4, as part of the temporary site plans that were approved at the beginning of the project, there was a sediment basin that was designed to be put there. We basically re-scratched out that basin. It had gotten filled up from that silt washout. So we re-scratched up that basin. We also put erosion control, as you can see on the right-hand side of that picture, a double stack of straw wattle and a silt fence. But that basin that you see kind of at the bottom, the brown section, is 4 feet below the overflow point, if you will. So this is after Tuesday's small snowstorm that was supposed to be a large snowstorm.
Yeah. Is it working?
Yes. So if you, Elaine, if you don't mind going to the right, a couple pictures. Yeah, so I think it's maybe like, there you go. So this is, that berm that we erected is to the left-hand side of this picture. We also, again, in anticipation of the final grades of these 2 lots, we actually raised the grade of the lot 2 feet and then put the berm on top of that. And what that did was basically mimics final conditions where any water on the roadway is going to stay on the roadway and drain into the roadway drainage system. If you go, sorry, thank you for jumping around with this. If you go to number 16, like right at the very end. So this is the map of the original approved erosion control system for the site. There's these dotted lines that show basically the areas that water was expected to be drained. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna stand up.
Please,
Yep,
please.
Thanks. So originally, this basin that was designed for this location that we re-erected was meant to take in any area from these dotted lines here up to this area. What we effectively did with this berm was reduce the amount of area draining to this basin. Now that all of these stormwater basins are completed, so the area being held by this basin is less than it was designed for, meaning that we're really not seeing, this last storm was a very small one, so it wasn't necessarily a great indicator of, a heavy impact like we've had over the last month and a half or so. But we did see, no water there, and water from the roadways all contained onto the site. You probably saw as we were scrolling to this one, if we go back to more, I think it's to, yeah, there you go. We also erected silt fences around the back of all the piles. So this one here, anything down gradient of those temporary stockpiles we put in place. We've talked to the road contractor who's on site and gone over all the erosion control plans, and they're aware that even if they do a temporary stockpile for a day, that they need to re-erect these in those places. As for the effects to the wetland area, so I showed some pictures earlier that that our team took when we went down. One is showing basically the slope in which the sand washed down, and then we took some pictures of the area vernal pool that got material in. I think, as Caitlin noted, we didn't measure the depth, but she did. That one end of the vernal pool probably got about 6 inches of sand washing down to it. We have a wetland scientist coming to the site on Friday to put together a remediation plan for us. He was going to come on Monday, but the storm and everything pushed him back, so he'll be on Friday. As well as we have our project engineer coming out to the site to inspect all the erosion controls this week. Both of those reports, when we get them, we'll send to the commission just to verify that erosion controls, by our engineers' standards, are good. And we'll send the remediation plan to the commission to approve, and then we'll move forward. I think, as Caitlin mentioned to me on the phone, luckily we're in the winter season, so I think if we act, before things warm up, we should be able to mitigate any kind of long-term.
So is anything running off the property?
Now, no.
Onto the streets or the town property, town streets or any, or?
No, everything now is
butters?
contained. Yeah, everything now is contained. The event that was logged did run off the property. That's the one we're discussing, yeah.
Okay. Sir, did you have any comments or just listening?
I'm the abutter.
Yes.
And I'm generally just in listening mode.
We need a microphone.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
Could you give your name, please, sir?
And address.
My name is Patrick.
Turn it up.
Closer to you.
Okay. My name is Patrick. My last name is Kerrigan, and we live at 14 Stop River Road. So I'm just trying to, so thank you for, putting those erosion controls in. Very much appreciated, and thank you for all of your help, Caitlin. Most appreciated. I just wanted to understand, so this, I noticed that there was runoff probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, give or take, and I don't know when it exactly started to happen, but that's when I happened to notice it. And I just, as an abutter, am just trying to understand.
Where was the runoff to?
Sorry?
Where was the runoff?
That you noticed?
Basically, on the property coming down from the project down into the pools, into the wetlands. It's pretty significant runoff pattern, and then you can see the sediment and some construction material and stuff like that. But I just wanted to get a better sense because it wasn't particularly clear to me. So, Owen, could you just explain to us what controls were in place? Like, let's say, so if I noticed this 2 weeks ago, let's say 6 weeks ago, what? Because it wasn't exactly clear to me, kind of what was in place at that point. Thanks.
Absolutely. So before this, there was a silt fence around the site and a straw wattle silt sock. Those, from what I understand, when these piles got washed into overflow, got pushed over. And I believe in that time, the basin that was at the bottom of that hill before the silt sock filled up, essentially.
So, just from a timeline standpoint, do you know when it washed away?
Not specifically. I expect it was with the storm 2 weeks ago.
Address it to me.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'm just trying to understand, I saw no evidence of any silt fence or anything kind of in the runoff pattern coming down the hill into the wetlands. So I think it's important for us just to kind of all be on the same page going forward, that there's going to be some amount of attention paid, because I don't know when this thing exactly ran off, but I saw no evidence of any type of a silt fence or anything coming down the hill. I'm not sure if you did, Caitlin, when you were there, but I think as an abutter would certainly appreciate some amount of attention to the runoff by the developer, and to the extent that the town can assist in kind of managing that it certainly would be most appreciated.
Caitlin?
So typically when erosion controls fail, they pretty much stay in the same spot where they're staked, and actually the stormwater sediment just kind of runs over them. My best guess is that the sediment trap has been filling up probably since early January, with the back-to-back storms. It's my understanding that the ZBA is going to be, I know they're going to be reviewing the report that's put together by your engineer. And one of the recommendations that might come out of that is, periodic monitoring after, a certain rain event, whether that's a half an inch rain event, an inch rain event, just to make sure that, that sediment trap doesn't fill and then overflow again. Because if I had to guess, it was over, the course of many weeks and not a singular event. Because I actually, when I first looked at the site, I wasn't aware that the sediment trap was there because it had filled up to the point where it was almost at grade with the rest of the site. So it's definitely been, filling up for a while. And I think, as you said, monitoring of those areas is, important in making sure this doesn't happen again.
And this is part of why what we did was we added to the, so there's a initial construction phase erosion control plan, and then there's a final control plan. We're somewhere in the middle where the roadways have been constructed, but not all the house lots have been constructed. So what we've done is, again, moved past the initial temporary control structures. We added material in between the roadway and the sediment basin to basically reduce the amount of stormwater that's directed at this location. Again, the basin itself is now sized appropriately for the full amount, but it's probably receiving a quarter of what it's designed to receive, whereas the rest of the systems are receiving what they're meant to take. So the expectation is that this will more than adequately prevent any kind of future issue in this location, especially because there's not going to be any reason for anybody to be working there until the house lots are being installed.
When do you think that might be? Have they been sold?
One of them is under reservation. The other one is not yet.
Oh, okay.
There is I'm sorry, if we don't mind, if we go to, I think number 15 or 16.
Nah, he fooled you.
I know, right? It's been ahead of me this whole time. I think 16. I think there's another map showing the final. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It is number 3. Trying to keep track. I think it's close to 3 here. One more. There you go. So this is a representation of the final layout. And so it's kind of hard to tell, but there's a crest here where everything forward from that goes to the road. And then what the final situation is set up when this is all grassed and things like that is there is a leaching catch basin that gets installed here. Until we're doing the grass and seed of the final setup, that is more likely to fill up than a basin that can be easily scratched out. This is why we haven't put that in place yet. But what we've done is preemptively built up the grades in accordance with the final plan. So again, to reduce the amount of water going that way.
Are you planning to put grass seed in there in the spring?
So
or do you have to wait until the houses and
I think we'd wait until the house lots go in. However, I can talk with our engineer to see if there's any merit in, we've now built this basin with the slopes and everything, if there's any merit in loaming and seeding that in the early spring to basically create more stabilization on that.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll talk to our engineer while we're out there.
Okay.
Because again, this is kind of set up in this location, so we could have easily basically maintain that like that while we're building at least this lot, and we can work around it when we get to the second one here.
I appreciate that, Owen.
So, yeah, I think there's some improvements that should, reduce the amount of maintenance that needs to take place on those on a regular basis. But absolutely on our end, this is going to be a high focus site for us every time we come to the site. So,
Well, we appreciate you coming in front of us and addressing our concerns and our butters' concerns. And
Are we going to be vacuuming or removing the sediment from the woods? Is that what the next project is?
So the wetlands consultant will be, coming up with a plan for the commission to review. If I had to guess, it's probably gonna be hand removal. I don't see how you could get a vac truck down there.
No, the reason I ask this is because it's happened with the water department in town where on Seekonk Street and 44, we had a major water main break and it took silt into the wetlands. And I had a vac truck come in and that literally vac all the silt right back out of the wetlands. And there was very little damage. So that's why I'm asking if that's what might be the remedy to the rest of what's got to be done.
we'll have to see how far of a hose they have.
Yeah.
If they can reach in from Stop River through the woods, then we'll
Because that area to
do that
fit
route.
equipment, I mean, if you bring equipment, it's going to do more damage. Again, the Lincoln Street issue, if Owen has to bring in equipment, it's going to do more damage to the wetlands and that than just leaving it alone at this point. But if we can vac it out with a vac truck, it doesn't do much damage.
The other thing we might do, like Caitlin was saying, we might be doing wheelbarrows and shovels as well.
Yeah.
There's 6 inches of material that came down, but luckily it's not very far into the wetland, into the vernal pool area. So if we had to go with shovels and wheelbarrows, we could do that.
Yeah,
I know the area very well.
See?
But we just want to back it out of there, that's all.
well, we appreciate it again, Owen.
Thanks for the pictures, Owen, very informative.
Okay. I think we're done with 144 Seekonk Street, unless anybody has any other questions. Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Let's go on to some administrative issues, so have a good evening. All right. Minutes. Everybody read the minutes?
Yep.
Any comments, questions, edits?
Minutes?
Yeah.
What minutes? Oh, gee.
They only took minutes to read.
Oh, honey.
It was only wasn't it like a 27 minutes, was that mean?
Oh, I
last
think
one?
it was, somewhere on there.
The last one was very quick.
Yeah.
Was it 25 minutes?
Yeah.
Any,
Nope.
anybody have it? Then I'll accept that motion.
Val moves that,
Also, and I make a motion to approve the January 10th, 2024 board meeting minutes.
Hey, second.
Adam Zucker second.
Peter, you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. And some reports from the DPW. Anything? I don't have anything.
All good.
I got nothing. New or old business? What's that?
You guys mind if I read the leachate report?
Yes, please do. At your convenience, at your own time.
Thank you, Dave.
It's in public record.
Wow. We had a lot of chocolate today.
You might have wanted to read them to us, though.
Okay. 2 of them, though.
Yeah.
1 maybe. Okay, any other business?
Oh, I did want to mention that the comment period for the updated WPA stormwater regulations has been extended to April 30th.
Good.
And I am, similar to a meeting folder, I'm going to put together all the resources that I have for that and send it out to everyone. There's a lot of changes to the stormwater regulations, and there's also, in my opinion, some good changes as far as placing stormwater systems farther away from critical areas like vernal pools, drinking water supply zones, things like that.
A lot of towns have gone stormwater divisions. They have a stormwater division now. It's getting to the point where to monitor and maintain, it's never been done before.
We're not that big of a town.
Yeah, we are. It's still a requirement by the state.
Oh, I know that.
You
I'm
make
just
sure you
saying, we're not
maintain
that big of a town. that we should
Yes.
be able to maintain. Okay, but that's not our business.
Yes.
Any other anticipated business? How about there's a spring meeting coming up, correct? Or is the...
May?
May.
In May.
Oh, yeah. The MACC meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, that, yes.
It's March 2nd.
Yeah, I didn't bring the paperwork.
I think it's 2 weeks
They don't
away.
have mine. Anybody planning to attend? Or want to attend?
I'm going to be there.
Okay.
So if anyone else is interested, there's definitely plenty of money in the technical budget for the conference or for any other workshops. I believe they just started their the cycle of the 8 series unit that they do for Conservation Commission members. So.
Yeah, take a look at it. If you're interested,
You
let
don't
us
have
know.
to start at unit 1, you can kind of jump back and forth, or just do the ones that are interesting to you.
And as you complete them on the members list, we'll put a little star by you.
What do you get? What do you get if you complete them? I get a star on your forehead. There you go, Al.
All right, I'll accept a motion to close the meeting of February 14th, 24.
Peter Koch, a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Adam Zucker, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're closed.